I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, mascara streaking down my cheeks like dark rivers. My hands gripped the cold porcelain sink as I tried to understand how everything had gone so wrong. Just hours ago, I was dancing under strobe lights, champagne bubbles tickling my nose, surrounded by my closest friends. Sophie had organized the whole thing a surprise bachelorette party at the trendiest lounge downtown. The DJ was incredible. The champagne tower sparkled like diamonds, and I felt like the luckiest woman alive. In 3 weeks, I was supposed to marry Derek Hamilton, the man I'd loved for 4 years. "Emma, you're glowing," Sophie had shouted over the music, pulling me onto the dance floor. I laughed, spinning in circles. I can't believe this is really happening. After my 3rd glass of champagne, or was it my 4th? The room started tilting. I stumbled near the bar, my heels catching on absolutely nothing. Strong hands caught me before I hit the floor. "Whoa, easy there," a gentle voice said. I looked up at a stranger with kind eyes. "Thank you," I mumbled, letting him guide me to a chair. My head was spinning, and I leaned against his shoulder for maybe 30 seconds while the world stopped tilting. Sophie appeared with her phone raised. "Look at you, getting wild," she laughed, snapping a photo. "Derek's going to love this." I thought nothing of it. It was innocent, harmless. But when I got home that night, Derek was sitting on our couch in darkness, his phone illuminating his face with an eerie glow. "Derek, what are you? Who is he?" His voice was ice. "Who is who?" He held up his phone. The photo Sophie took filled the screen, me leaning against that stranger's shoulder. "Derek, I can explain. I got dizzy and disgusting." He stood up, his face twisted in disgust. "You're absolutely disgusting, Emma." "What? No, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. My fiancé, drunk and draped over some random man. Do you know how pathetic this makes you look? How pathetic it makes me look. I wasn't draped over anyone." I almost fell and he caught me. "That's it. That's it?" He laughed bitterly. "You're leaning on him like he's your boyfriend. How am I supposed to marry someone like this?" My heart shattered. Someone like what? Someone I can't trust. Someone who's unworthy of wearing my ring. "Derek, please. I need time to think about whether I can still go through with this wedding." He grabbed his keys and walked past me without another glance. I slid down the bathroom wall that night, sobbing until my throat was raw. One innocent moment had destroyed everything I'd built. 2 days. 2 days of complete silence. I called Derek 17 times. I sent 32 text messages. I even drove to his apartment. But his car wasn't there. "Emma, you need to eat something," Rachel said, sitting beside me on my childhood bed. I'd moved back home because I couldn't stand being in the apartment I'd shared with Derek. "I'm not hungry. Talk to me. What happened?" "I can't." The shame was suffocating. How could I admit that my fiancé had dumped me over a photo where I was literally just being helped to a chair? On the 3rd day, my phone buzzed. "Derek, meet me at Stella's Cafe. 2 p.m. Hope exploded in my chest. Maybe he'd calm down. Maybe we could fix this. I arrived 30 minutes early, rehearsing my apology even though I'd done nothing wrong. When Derek walked through the door, my smile died. His father, Marcus Hamilton, was with him. "Derek? Mr. Hamilton?" I stood up, confused. Derek sat across from me, arms crossed. Marcus took the seat beside his son, his expression cold and disappointed. "Emma," Derek began, his voice formal and distant. "I've discussed the situation with my family." "The situation?" My voice cracked. "Your behavior at the bachelorette party was unacceptable. You disrespected me, our relationship, and yourself." "Derek, I told you what happened. I don't want to hear excuses." He held up his hand. "I can't trust you anymore. Calling off the wedding is the right decision." "No, please," tears poured down my face. "Please, Derek, don't do this." Marcus cleared his throat. "The Hamilton family has a certain reputation to uphold, Emma. We cannot be associated with someone who behaves so recklessly." I felt like I was on trial for a crime I didn't commit. But I didn't do anything wrong. Derek slid a small velvet box across the table. "My engagement ring. Keep it," he said coldly, "as a reminder of what you threw away." They both stood up. Derek buttoned his jacket and looked down at me with something close to pity. "Goodbye, Emma." I sat alone in that cafe for an hour, staring at the ring box, feeling my entire world collapse into ash. The days blurred together, tears, sleepless nights, and endless self-blame. My mother, Patricia, brought me tea every morning and sat beside me in silence. My father, Daniel, said nothing, but I saw the anger burning in his eyes whenever Derek's name was mentioned. Sophie called constantly. "Emma, I'm so sorry," she said during one call. Derek's completely overreacting. You deserve so much better than this. Do I? I whispered. Of course you do. What happened at the party was nothing. He's being ridiculous. Her words felt hollow, but I dismissed it as paranoia. At work, my coworker Jessica noticed I wasn't myself. Emma, can we talk? I broke down in the break room, telling her everything between sobs. Jessica listened patiently, then said something that changed everything. Emma, if he loved you, he would have heard you out. He wanted an excuse to leave. Her words planted a seed of doubt. Why was Derek so quick to end everything over something so small? Why didn't he believe me? That night, I pulled out my phone and looked at the photo Sophie had taken. I was clearly unsteady, obviously just being helped. There was nothing inappropriate about it, so why did Derek react so violently? For the first time, I wondered if there was more to this story. Jessica suggested I reach out to Liam, the stranger from the party, to get his version of events. It took 2 days to find him through social media. Liam Chen, freelance photographer. Me, hi, this is Emma. We met at the lounge 2 weeks ago. I'm so sorry to bother you. But do you remember me? Liam. Of course I remember. I heard what happened. I felt terrible. We met at a coffee shop the next day. I want you to know, Liam said, stirring his coffee. You literally just leaned on me for a few seconds. There was nothing inappropriate about it. I was just making sure you didn't fall. Thank you, I whispered, relieved. Would you be willing to provide a statement if… Absolutely. Whatever you need. As we talked, Liam mentioned something strange. There was one odd thing that night, though. What? Your friend, the one who took the photo she was talking to? Some guy who seemed really interested in you. He kept asking her questions about you, about your relationship. I thought it was weird. My stomach dropped. What did he look like? Tall, dark hair, wearing an expensive suit. Derek. I thanked Liam and rushed home, my mind racing. That evening, I scrolled through Sophie's social media with new eyes. She'd been posting frequently, but none of the photos included me anymore. Strange, considering we used to be inseparable. Then I saw it. A photo from 2 weeks ago at a restaurant I recognized. In the background, barely visible, was Derek. I zoomed in. Sophie's hand was on the table, and across from her, sitting far too close, was definitely Derek. My heart stopped. I called Jessica immediately. I think Derek's been cheating on me. With Sophie. Oh my God, Emma, you need proof. Hire a private investigator. Within a week, Olivia Grant handed me a manila folder that shattered my soul. I'm sorry, Emma, she said quietly. Inside were photos Derek and Sophie entering hotels together, holding hands at restaurants, kissing in parking lots, text messages, hotel receipts, 6 months' worth of evidence. Derek and Sophie had been having an affair the entire time. I arranged to meet Sophie at her apartment. Emma, she hugged me tightly. How are you holding up? We sat on her couch. She poured me wine, playing the concerned best friend perfectly. I'm holding up, I said calmly. Then I looked directly into her eyes. I know about you and Derek. Her face went pale. What? Emma? I pulled out the photos and laid them on her coffee table, one by one. Hotel entrance, restaurant, parking lot, hotel room key in her hand. Oh my God, she stammered. Emma, this isn't I can explain. Explain what? That you've been sleeping with my fiancé for 6 months? That you smiled in my face while betraying me? Her expression shifted from shock to guilt to defiance. Fine. Yes. It's true. How could you? It just happened, okay? Derek confided in me about feeling trapped. He said you two didn't have passion anymore. One thing led to another. She looked at me almost defiantly. I never meant to hurt you. But I love him. You love him? I stood up, trembling. You destroyed our friendship, my relationship, my entire life, and you love him? You wouldn't understand. Derek and I have a connection you never had with him. Get away from me. I walked toward the door. Emma, you're overreacting, she called after me. Derek never truly loved you anyway. He told me that. Those words cut deeper than anything else. That night, I called Derek. Emma, he sighed. What do you want? I know about Sophie. Long silence. I was going to tell you eventually. I just didn't know how. You used that photo as an excuse, I said, my voice shaking. You're a coward. Sophie makes me feel alive in ways you never could, he said simply. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. I hung up without another word. I had spent weeks blaming myself when I was the victim all along. After the confrontation, I hit rock bottom. I stayed in bed for 3 days straight. Rachel forced her way into my room and sat beside me. Emma, You can either let this destroy you, or you can rise above it and make them regret what they did. Something sparked inside me. You're right, I whispered. With Jessica's help, I started documenting everything. Then I reached out to Tyler, Derek's best man. Tyler, I need to tell you something about Derek. When I explained everything, he was furious. That bastard. I suspected something was off, but I never imagined. Emma, I'm so sorry. Would you testify if I take legal action? Absolutely. That evening, my father finally spoke. Emma, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. My mother added, sometimes the best revenge is showing the world who you truly are. I decided I wasn't going to hide in shame anymore. I was going to expose Derek and Sophie for exactly who they were. I sent out invitations for a small gathering to announce the wedding cancellation. Derek, Sophie, and their families all attended, expecting a dignified, mature conversation. I had other plans. When everyone was seated, I stood up. Thank you all for coming. I wanted to set the record straight about why the wedding was called off. I pulled out a projector. I think everyone deserves to know the truth. The slideshow began. Photos of Derek and Sophie together. Text messages confessing their love. Videos of them entering hotels. Hotel receipts with their names. The room fell completely silent. Gasps echoed through the space. Derek's face turned crimson. Sophie looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. Marcus stood up, furious. Derek, is this true? Derek couldn't even look at his father. Tyler stood. It's all true. Derek lied to everyone, including me. Rachel added. And Sophie pretended to support Emma while stabbing her in the back. My mother, usually so composed, looked at Derek with pure disgust. You are not the man we thought you were. This is ridiculous, Derek stammered. Relationships are complicated. You told me, Derek, and I didn't have a connection. I interrupted, looking at Sophie. Well, now everyone knows what kind of connection you two have. One built on lies and betrayal. The room erupted in support for me. Derek and Sophie fled in humiliation. For the first time in weeks, I felt the weight lift from my shoulders. Derek tried to save face by threatening legal action for defamation. I welcomed it. In family court, Judge Catherine Monroe listened to both sides with a stern expression. Derek's lawyer argued. The affair was a private matter. Miss Clark had no right to publicly humiliate my client. My lawyer countered. Mr. Hamilton used a fabricated story to break off the engagement and emotionally manipulated Miss Clark into believing she was at fault. He also refuses to cover any wedding expenses despite his role in the cancellation. Judge Monroe was not sympathetic. Mr. Hamilton, you used deception to end your engagement and caused significant emotional distress. I'm ruling in favor of Miss Clark. You will cover all wedding-related expenses and issue a public apology. Marcus approached me afterward. Emma, I'm sorry for how I treated you. My son is not the man I raised him to be. You deserved better. It was a small vindication. As I left the courthouse, I saw Liam waiting outside. You did it, he smiled. For the first time in months, I smiled back. The months that followed were about healing. I threw myself into work and earned a promotion. Jessica became one of my closest friends. Rachel and I grew even closer. Liam and I stayed in touch. We met for coffee regularly, talking about everything except Derek and Sophie. He showed me that not everyone was cruel. I started therapy, which helped me realize I'd been in a toxic relationship long before the Bachelorette party. Derek had been controlling and manipulative for years. I just hadn't seen it. One day, I ran into Sophie at a grocery store. She looked exhausted. Emma, I'm so sorry, she said quietly. I regret everything. I forgive you, I replied. But I don't want you in my life. It felt liberating to let go. Derek reached out multiple times, trying to reconcile. I blocked him every time. I didn't need closure from him. I'd already found it within myself. A year later, I stood on a beach at sunset, watching the waves crash against the shore. I had rebuilt my life from the ground up, and I was genuinely happy. Liam had become more than a friend. One evening, he asked me out on a real date. Yes, I said, smiling. It felt different this time, lighter, healthier, real. My family threw me a celebration for my promotion. As I looked around at everyone who had stood by me, I realized I didn't need Derek or Sophie to validate my worth. I had always been enough. I heard through mutual friends that Derek and Sophie had broken up. Their relationship had collapsed under the weight of guilt and judgment. I felt nothing when I heard the news. They were no longer part of my story. Standing on that beach, I whispered to myself, I am free. And for the first time in a long time, I truly meant it. This wasn't the ending I had planned, but it was the beginning I needed. The end.